Incredible journey. Scarred billionaire exposes heartfelt love after 30 years of loneliness. Jack Lawson stood at the edge of his past, a towering figure against the backdrop of Cedar Creek, his small Midwestern hometown, now flickering under the golden glow of streetlights. Memories rushed in like a tidal wave, laughter, loss, and love intertwined in every corner. After years of detachment, returning felt like stepping into a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. A chill crept up his spine, igniting an awareness of just how alone he truly was. He turned to the charity event honoring local veterans, a fleeting chance to reconnect with humanity and maybe seek redemption. As he navigated through familiar faces etched with time and hardship, ghosts from a life once filled with promise flickered before him. He felt a tightness in his chest, a mix of guilt and nostalgia that throbbed with every heartbeat. This was home. These were his people, the ones who had suffered during the economic downturn that ripped through their community, leaving devastation in its wake. Jack had lost everything: his family, his dreams, and he had built a fortress to shield his scarred heart from ever feeling that pain again. But then he saw her. Sarah. His childhood friend, the town's dedicated nurse, stood amidst a sea of weary faces, shining like a beacon. She looked up, and their eyes locked. Sparks ignited an old flame buried deep within Jack's heart. Sarah had always been the soul of Cedar Creek, the person who wiped away tears and brought hope. Now, her smile, though tinged with sadness, yet radiated resilience. A lump formed in his throat as he stepped closer. "Jack, is that really you?" she asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. He could hardly breathe. "Yeah, it's me," he whispered, choking back the flood of emotions. Their conversation was warm but marred by an uncomfortable tension. Unspoken words clung between them like cobwebs. He wanted to ask her how she had fared, to share his own struggles, but fear clamped down on his chest. The rich billionaire standing before her could never bridge the chasm of class, guilt, and abandonment that lay between them. Before he could pull away, murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. Some recognized Jack, their expressions shifting from surprise to suspicion. A collective wariness enveloped the room. "What does he know about struggle?" one woman whispered, shooting Jack a scornful glance as she clutched her child tightly. Each murmur pierced him like daggers. He had come to help, but the walls in this broken city seemed even higher. Just as despair washed over him, a small crisis erupted. A veteran collapsed in the back of the room. Chaos ensued, and it was Sarah's calm presence that took charge. Running towards the fallen veteran, her hands worked swiftly, her voice a soothing balm amidst the panic. In that moment, Jack's perspective shifted. Watching the community rush in to support one another, a flicker of something deep within him stirred: longing for connection, realization that he had abandoned them, and they still stood united despite their pain. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack found himself longing not just for their acceptance but for their humanity. He felt raw, stripped of defenses, staring down the specter of his past choices. This crowd of veterans, resilient and proud, awakened something long dormant. Could he truly bridge the gap between who he once was and this man shaped by years of loss? The room quieted as Sarah finished her work. He would have to make a choice. Embrace the vulnerability he avoided like the plague, or wall himself off, slipping back into the shadows. A decision loomed, heavy and bittersweet, as he faced the ghosts of his past. Would the promise of connection triumph over the weight of his choices? The room settled into a tense silence as Jack weighed his options. Sarah finished tending to the veteran, her hands still trembling, glistening with determination and care. She turned toward him, and in that instant, he felt a surge of hope mixed with fear. This was his chance to reconnect, to be the man he had once dreamed of being before the weight of his riches and losses had pulled him so far from his roots. "Sarah," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. I want to help. I can't change the past, but I want to be here now. For all of you. The sincerity in his words caught in his throat, like thorns breaking through the knots of a heart that had long since hardened. Their eyes locked once again, and he could see a flicker of hope ignite in her gaze. For a brief moment, the room held its breath. She stepped closer, her expression softening as her defenses fell. Jack, it's not just about being here. It's about understanding, about carrying some of this burden together. The weight of her words hung in the air, palpable and heavy. He nodded, absorbing her truth. I know, I've been running from it for too long. But seeing you, this community, it made me realize how badly I want to be part of it again. Jack felt the walls he'd built around himself start to crack. Here was a chance for redemption, a glimmer of what it might mean to be truly alive again. At that moment, a smile broke across Sarah's face, and with it, the tension seemed to dissolve. It was a small yet significant shift, but it was enough to create a ripple of connection. The whispers in the crowd quieted, curious eyes now watching what unfolded between Jack and Sarah, but just as hope began to take hold, an unexpected voice pierced through the room. And what do you know about loss, Jack? What can you teach us? A man stepped forward, his brow furrowed, anger mingling with grief. The room echoed with this challenge, turning Jack's delicate moment into sharp scrutiny. Jack's heart raced. Memories of his father's business crumbling, of sleepless nights filled with regret rushed back, creating a bitter bite at the back of his throat. I know what it's like to have everything slip through your fingers, he replied, voice stronger now as he swallowed his doubts. I've learned through pain that it's love, not money, that truly binds us. The crowd stirred, a mix of disbelief and curiosity playing out on their faces. Could this man, a figure made of wealth and perceived detachment, actually understand? Just then, an elderly veteran stepped forward, his gaze piercing. Show us, then. Show us what love means when you've lost it all. Jack held his breath. This was the moment where the past could clash with the present. He felt the eyes of the community upon him, judging, hoping, waiting for authenticity. He turned his gaze back to Sarah, catching a glimpse of encouragement as she silently willed him forward. And that heartbeat, all Jack could think about was connecting with the heart of Cedar Creek, with the very people he had distanced himself from for too long. He felt the stirrings of a deeper resolve within him. Then let me start by standing with you, sharing in your struggles, not as a wealthy outcast but as one who is ready to fight alongside you. I want to listen and learn. As the hard lines of skepticism began to soften, Jack felt something he hadn't in years, a burgeoning sense of belonging that filled the emptiness he'd carried for so long. It was in this moment, he recognized, that maybe, just maybe, he could redefine what family meant to him, but the path to acceptance and healing wouldn't be easy. The skepticism remained a reminder of the journey ahead. Jack took a step into the crowd, heart hammering fiercely against his ribs, ready to face what lay ahead. Where would this fragile connection take him? And what winds of change would blow through Cedar Creek next? Jack stepped forward, the floor creaking beneath him, the murmurs growing softer as he approached the group of veterans. Time seemed elastic, moments stretched as he prepared to bridge the gap between his past and this community he yearned to be a part of. He caught sight of the elderly veteran who had challenged him. The man stood tall, but Jack could sense the weight of his grief like a thick cloak. He had an undeniable presence, a life lived fiercely etched into every crease of his face. It reminded Jack of his own father, who fought tirelessly until the end, only to leave a void that money couldn't fill. I want to honor those we've lost, Jack continued, steadying his voice. I want to turn my past into something that could help us build a future together. He let the word hang there, letting it settle over the crowd, hoping to dissolve the walls between them. The old veteran's expression shifted, something softer breaking through his hard exterior. What do you mean by help? Your help comes from what? Corporate greed. His voice was strained, but that flicker of softness remained, urging Jack to keep trying. Jack clenched his fists, the frustration bubbling beneath the surface. I know what I have is different from what you've worked for. But I want to give back. I've seen the darkness that follows loss, and it's time I use whatever influence I have for something greater than myself. A breath of tension escaped the group, the hardened faces softening, still uncertain but intrigued. Jack could see Sarah in his periphery, her unwavering gaze giving him strength. "What do you suggest, then?" Another voice chimed in from the back. It belonged to a woman, her eyes mirrored with skepticism but also held a hint of curiosity. "Talk's easy. We need actions." Jack could almost feel the community shift toward him, a gathering storm of emotion swirling in the air. This was more than a challenge, it was an invitation. He took a breath, memories of his own failures intertwining with the fabric of their lives. "I propose a project," he said firmly. "A community center somewhere folks can gather, share stories, and memorialize those who've fought for us, those who've fallen. I can help fund it, but I want your insights. Your stories should shape this place." The crowd shifted, a mixture of disbelief and intrigue. He felt the weight of their gazes pressing on him. "You're serious? You want us to work with you? A man like you?" Came a voice, edged with doubt. Jack nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "Yes, I want to learn from you, and together we can honor the past and look to the future. Just give me a chance to prove it." Silence enveloped them once more, then a younger veteran broke it, his voice steady. "What if we reject you? What if you run away when it gets tough? You have everything, but we've lost so much." A wave of unease raced through Jack. "I can't promise I won't trip or fail. But I promise every single ounce of me will be here, fighting with you. I've faced loss, too. You've given me a part of you, now please let me give you a part of me." With those final words, Jack felt like a weight was lifted, yet the burden only shifted to a new understanding. He wasn't just asking for their trust, he was offering his heart. The burly veteran and the crowd seemed lost in thought, weighing his sincerity against their cautious hope. As he waited, uncertainty tugged at Jack's chest. Then, soft murmurs began to build in the crowd, words of surprise, disbelief, some laughter mingled with doubt. Sarah stepped forward, her voice cutting through the noise. "Let us listen. This could be the start of something we all need." But through the mixture of uncertainty and hope, a familiar shadow lingered at the edge of the room, a figure who had haunted Jack as past. He felt his stomach drop. Could he face his demons now, in a place where he was finally trying to stand tall? Just when Jack thought he could see a path forward, the past was ready to challenge him once more. How would he face the truths he had tried to bury for so long? Jack's heart raced as he caught sight of the shadowy figure lingering in the doorway. Memories surged through him, sharp and suffocating. It was Tom, his old business partner. The betrayal still stung like a fresh wound. Tom's presence in this room, at this moment, felt like an electric jolt, sending ripples of anxiety coursing through him. "Jack," Tom called, his tone smooth yet devoid of genuine warmth. The room quieted, all eyes flicking between Jack and Tom. "Didn't he expect to see you here? Thought ambition would keep you busy." Jack straightened, determination washing over him like a wave. He couldn't let Tom unravel him, not now, not when he was finally stepping towards something meaningful. "I'm busy with new dreams now, not the old games," he replied, his voice firm. "I'm here to help a community, not exploit it." The veteran crowd, watching closely, sensed the tension hanging thick in the air. Jack could feel their anticipation, a mixture of hope and skepticism. Would they still trust him after this confrontation? Tom stepped further into the room, a predatory gleam in his eye. "Oh, the noble heart, Jack. How sweet. But we both know, this is just business for you, just a new sales pitch to distract from the guilt, right?" A murmur of disbelief rippled through the audience, and Jack felt their eyes flinch away from him. "Why are you really here, Tom?" Jack demanded, his heart pounding louder than his voice. "Are you trying to undermine what I'm trying to do?" Tom smirked, his facade unshaken. "Why not? Your little community center sounds like a heartfelt gimmick. But you and I, we both know where your real loyalties lie. Through gritted teeth, Jack pushed down the urge to lash out. My loyalty is to these people now. It's real. Unlike the lies you sold me. The tension hung heavy, and Jack looked at the veterans, seeing the glimmers of understanding flicker in their eyes. They knew his battles, the scars on his soul were evident before them all. Tom shrugged, feigning indifference. Suit yourself. They'll soon see you for what you really are. With that, he turned on his heel and strode toward the exit, leaving Jack standing in a stew of vulnerability and resolve. Forget him, Jack, Sarah said softly, stepping beside him. You're fighting your own battle now. Jack inhaled deeply, with the weight of Tom's accusation still pressing on him. But he could feel the warmth of the veterans around him, their respect creeping back, a chance to reshape the narrative forming in their minds. That he turned to face them, his heart swelling with purpose. Believe me when I say, I want to change. I want to build something that represents not just my regrets but also our shared future. I'm ready to listen, to learn from all of you. As Jack spoke, he saw a flicker of hope, a glimmer of connection within the crowd. They started to nod, and some even stepped closer. That's the spirit, one veteran said, his voice carrying strength. If you're here to help and to listen, then we'll show you what we need. A spark ignited in Jack, igniting a fire of collaboration, breaking free from the shadows of his past. Yet, just as optimism began to settle like dust in the air, Tom's words echoed again in his mind, taunting him, they'll soon see you for what you really are. Could he withstand the weight of his past while striving to forge a new future? Would the ghosts of his decisions continue to haunt him, or could he seize this opportunity to truly create something meaningful? The atmosphere within the room buzzed with energy and cautious hope, but Jack could feel the inevitable storm brewing within. Would he have the strength to face his past and emerge unscathed? The moment of truth was drawing closer. Jack's heart fluttered, a mix of anxiety and determination, as he stood before the crowd. The room buzzed with uneasy energy. Was this his chance to bridge the chasm of doubt that Tom had cast? Could he truly win these veterans back, or would their skepticism linger like a shadow? The woman beside him, Sarah, offered an encouraging smile. It was small, but enough to remind him he wasn't alone. He needed to harness that support, to turn their doubts into belief. All right, he said, taking a breath, let's talk. What do you all need? A grizzled veteran in the front row raised a hand, his lined face full of history. We need a place to tell our stories, Jack. A safe place where our voices matter. There was a murmur of agreement from the others. They recognized each other's pain and struggle, a shared bond from their pasts haunting them. Jack nodded with purpose. I can help with that. We could create a space, not just for stories, but for healing. Maybe workshops, gathering support. We can build something real together. The reactions were palpable. Some veterans exchanged glances, while others nodded approvingly. Yet, the specter of Tom's words clung to the air, reminding Jack that doubts could easily resurface. Sounds good in theory, Jack, another veteran interjected, his voice steady but cautious. But how can we trust you? You've been part of the problem before. What's different now? Jack felt the ground shift beneath him. He took a step closer to the group, pulling the remaining fragments of his confidence together. This was his chance. I can't erase the past. I messed up, and I hurt many people. But I'm here to change that. To make amends. Not with empty words but with actions that speak louder than regrets. The room was silent, each person weighing his sincerity. Jack's gaze fell on the veterans' weathered faces, each carved by experiences and choices that shaped them. I'm committed to this community, and I want to be held accountable. If I falter, I want you to call me out. That's how this works, right? Trust isn't given freely. It's earned. A veteran with a thick beard, who had been quiet until now, raised a hand slightly. All right, Jack. You're asking for trust? Then show us. Make it real. Talk to us one-on-one. Let us get to know the man behind the badge. Jack felt a swell of relief and gratitude. Absolutely. I'll be here, ready to listen. And I'll make this center open door for everyone. We can create something powerful, a legacy right in this community. As discussions began to flow, Jack could feel the bubbling energy shift from skepticism towards something resembling hope. They were beginning to engage not just with him, but with each other. Conversations took flight, voices rising and mingling into an encouraging chorus. A bond was forming, but amidst this fleeting joy, doubts crept back into Jack's mind like ghosts demanding attention. Would it be enough? Was he strong enough to build this and withstand the backlash if it collapsed? Then, he caught sight of Tom through the glass door outside. Tom's eyes glinted with amusement, arms crossed as he observed the transformation unfold. Jack felt a surge of anger. Tom was still trying to infiltrate his newfound purpose, doubting him at every turn. "Stay with me, Jack," he murmured under his breath, pushing back the resurgence of doubt as he focused on the gathered veterans. This was his moment to create a ripple that could redefine not just his purpose, but theirs too. Yet, just as conversations deepened, the room suddenly quieted, and an unexpected tension filled the air. A veteran slowly stood, trembling slightly, and everyone turned their attention to him. "I have something to say." Could this be the turning point Jack had been waiting for? Would this moment break open a deeper connection, or tear the fragile trust apart? The weight of uncertainty pressed down as Jack braced himself for what might come next. The room held its breath, every eye fixed on the veteran who stood before them, his hands shaking slightly at his sides. Jack's heart raced as he sensed the weight of those two simple words hanging in the air. This could be a chance for healing, or it could crumble the fragile connection they had begun to build. "Go on," Jack urged him softly, his voice steady, somehow cutting through the tension. The veteran took a deep breath, his gaze sweeping the room, searching for understanding in the faces gathered around him. I lost my best friend in combat. He was there one moment, and gone the next. It was like someone flipped a switch. I never got to say goodbye. Never got to tell him how much he meant to me." His voice cracked, vulnerability pouring out, and Jack's heart ached for him. "I come here hoping to find some peace. I thought being around other veterans would help. But I've kept so much inside. The guilt eats at me every day. I should have been there for him. I should have done more." The man's anguish resonated deeply, echoing in the silence of the room. Jack stepped forward, instinctively wanting to comfort the man, but he hesitated. "You're not alone. We're all carrying something heavy," he said softly, addressing the crowd now. "It's okay to share. It's okay to feel. That's how we can start healing. And maybe, just maybe, we can help one another navigate through this pain." Around the room, some veterans shifted in their seats, nodding. This openness was creating a ripple effect. Jack could see it. The more vulnerable one person became, the more it allowed others to loosen their tight grip on their own stories. Another veteran spoke up. "I carry the loss of comrades too. Every decision, every moment is haunted by what I could have done differently. I rarely share it, but you're right, Jack. Keeping it bottled up doesn't help." Encouragement surged through the room as others began to share fragments of their own stories. Jack felt a tingle of hope dance along his spine. They were connecting on a level he had desperately wanted. Maybe today would be the start of healing for everyone. As the stories flowed, Jack caught glimpses of the raw emotions surfacing, the sharp pain of loss, mingling with regret and hope. Each shared moment pulled them closer together, eroding the walls built by time and hurt. Yet, in the back of his mind, the familiar image of Tom loomed like a dark cloud. Would Tom seize this moment and turn it against him? That doubt crawled back in, playing tricks with his confidence. But he shoved it aside, focusing on the veterans who were now opening up to each other. Then, a soft voice interrupted. "What if we could honor the memories of those we lost? Create something that keeps their spirits alive?" It was a quiet veteran, a woman, whose suggestion hung in the air with quiet power. "What do you mean?" Jack asked, feeling a flutter of excitement. "Maybe we could organize an annual gathering, a night of remembrance where we tell our stories, share our losses, celebrate their lives." Her eyes glowed, igniting a fire within the room. Jack could feel adrenaline surging, pulsing in his veins. "That's it. We can create that space and night for memory, for storytelling, and for healing. We can build a community that thrives on these moments." The room erupted in murmurs of agreement and enthusiasm. Jack's heart swelled with hope. But as he basked in this moment, the glass door creaked open slowly, and Jack's stomach twisted as he saw Tom step inside, that familiar smirk creeping across his face. "What is going on in here?" Tom's voice sliced through the warmth. "Looks like a support group for broken souls." The laughter and light-hearted banter faded suddenly, replaced by silence as all eyes turned to Tom. Jack's heart raced, the warmth fading into uncertainty again. Would this be the moment that shattered everything they had just begun to build? Jack felt the crowd's energy shift, and the weight of Tom's presence loomed ominously. Would the bond of trust they formed be strong enough to withstand this invasion? Jack's breath came out in short bursts, as he stared at Tom, trying to gauge the reaction from the room. The once warm energy flickered like a candle in a storm, now vulnerable to the winds of Tom's taunts. He noticed a few veterans clenching their fists or shifting uncomfortably, evidence that they, too, felt the impending threat. Tom's eyes skimmed across the gathering, absorbing their mixed expressions. Hesitance mingled with curiosity. "I didn't know we were having a feel-good festival," he drawled, the smirk still firmly planted on his face. "And what's this about honoring lost friends? Sounds rather sentimental, don't you think?" Jack felt a surge of anger. How could Tom belittle something that had sparked so much hope? He wanted to shout back, to defend the fragile bridge they were building. But he also knew that engaging Tom would only deepen the conflict. Instead, he took a deep breath, determined to hold his ground. "Tom, this is about healing," Jack replied, forcing his voice to remain calm. "These people are sharing their hurt and their losses. It's important." Tom chuckled, leaning against the door frame with an air of detachment. "Healing? Please. What's the point of dredging all that up? Memories are painful for a reason. You're just gonna get hurt all over again." The tension deepened, spreading like a mist across the room. Jack felt the gripping weight of his decision. He could either let Tom's cynicism win or stand and fight for what they had just begun. His eyes darted to the veterans behind him. They needed this, needed him to push back against Tom's mocking. Building a supportive community meant facing the shadows of their past openly, not allowing anyone, especially Tom, to snuff out that light. "Maybe, Tom, that's part of the process," Jack responded, summoning every ounce of courage. "It's about sharing not just our pain but also celebrating the lives that were taken from us. It's about remembering together." A murmur rippled through the group, and Jack caught glimpses of nodding heads and pursed lips that softened just a bit at his words. It was small, but it felt monumental. Tom straightened, his demeanor shifting slightly. "So, you're saying reliving these memories is supposed to make things better?" He stepped further into the room, finally shedding the doorframe's casualness. "What if it doesn't? What if it breaks everything that you've tried to build?" For a moment, the air was thick with uncertainty. Jack held his ground, sure of this new road they were on. "Then we pick up the pieces and we try again. Together." Tom's expression darkened, but the crowd had shifted, their resolve strengthening as they faced Tom together. Some veterans began to share glances, exchanging silent support. "Is that what you think will happen, huh?" Tom challenged, but there was a flicker of doubt. "You honestly believe this is going to work?" Jack nodded slowly, opening the door for others to join in. "This what we're doing here, this means something. It's a path to healing. A path we walk together. You can either be a part of it or keep trying to tear it down." The room began to buzz again as a few veterans stepped forward, rallying behind Jack. "We're tired of hiding," one man declared, voice steady. "We're tired of pretending we're okay when we're not." Tom's smirk faltered, and for a brief moment, Jack saw confusion swimming behind his hardened gaze. The atmosphere transformed, the gathered veterans began to share their stories once more. Jack felt a surge of triumph wash over him. But before he could relish in the small victory, Tom's expression snapped back to a shrouded smile. "Well, let us see how long that lasts," he replied, the confidence returning to his tone as he turned and exited the room. As the door clicked shut, Jack's heart pounded. He could feel the uncertainty creeping back like shadows running from the light. "Did we make the right choice?" a veteran whispered, breaking the silence that followed Tom's departure. Jack sensed the collective apprehension, the question hanging in the air, perhaps this wasn't the end of the battle. This was just the beginning. "Together," Jack said, raising his voice for all to hear. "We face this together." Despite the echoes of fear beneath his words, he wondered if they might have just kindled a flame strong enough to withstand any storm. But lurking in the back of his mind was the unsettling thought, what would Tom do next? The dim light of the room started to feel like a protective barrier, shielding them from the harshness of the outside world. Jack could still sense the aftershock of Tom's departure, an unsettling reminder that not everyone shared their vision. He took a moment to gather himself, letting the warmth from the veterans bolster his resolve. "You all right?" a veteran named Mike asked, his voice low but filled with concern. Jack looked at him, recognizing the weight of their shared history. These were men and women who had weathered storms, each with their own battles, scars etched deep into their souls. "Yeah, I think so," Jack replied, trying to keep the tremor out of his voice. "We just need to keep going. We can't let Tom's words poison what we're trying to build." Mike nodded, visibly relieved. "Right. Maybe we ought to get back to it. Sharing is what this is all about." As Jack looked around the room, he felt a swell of gratitude for the camaraderie gathering in the wake of conflict. This small band formed a sanctuary for each other, and now was their time to truly come together. "Who's next?" Jack asked, breaking the silence that had settled after Tom's departure. A hesitant hand shot up at the back of the room. It belonged to Sarah, a woman he hadn't spoken to much before. She looked as though she'd bring a wave of emotion with her. "I'll go," she said, her voice wavering slightly but confident nonetheless. Jack smiled encouragingly, gesturing for her to come forward. Sarah took a breath and began. 2 years ago, I lost my husband in a situation I still can't fully process." Her words quivered, and Jack could see the pain etched in her face. "He was my rock. My best friend. I never thought I'd have to know life without him." Tears pooled in her eyes, and Jack felt the air grow thick with unshed emotions from the entire room. It was the kind of grief that could shatter hearts, and yet, there they all were, united in this moment. "I've learned to keep moving, but some days it feels impossible," she continued, her voice gaining strength. "But I'm here because I want to honor him. I want to celebrate his life, not just mourn his loss." As she finished, the room erupted in gentle applause, validating her courage. Jack felt the collective heartbeat of the group, an unspoken promise that they were all navigating this journey together. One by one, stories unfurled like a tapestry. Each tale was raw, vivid, full of love, loss, and resilience. Jack watched as faces shifted from sorrow and unease to understanding and support. Here, they were rebuilding what had been shattered. Then, unexpectedly, the door swung open again. Jack's heart sank as he turned. Tom was back, uninvited yet as relentless as a storm cloud. "Did I miss the crying session?" he sneered, stepping back into the sanctuary they had created. His gaze quickly scanned the room, looking for any signs of weakness. "Don't tell me you're actually bonding over this nonsense." Jack felt the knot in his stomach tighten. Could they stand unified against Tom's negativity one more time? "Leave them alone, Tom," Jack said, his voice steady, though he felt everything inside him screaming to retreat. "You're not welcome here. I'm just here to remind you all that reality is far worse than the fairy tales you're weaving," Tom replied, his smirk taking shape again. "Be careful. Hope is a dangerous game." As Tom's words hung heavily in the air, Jack looked around at the veterans. Hope flickered like that candle again, defiantly against the wind. Despite the threat looming in front of him, Jack felt a spark ignite in his chest, a resolve that had been solidified by the stories shared. Hope makes us stronger, he countered, his voice rising. And it's something you'll never understand. We're choosing to fight for our community, for our healing. But would Tom's poison seep in? The unease hung heavily over them like a shroud. They had come so far, could they withstand this storm that threatened to destroy all they had built? Jack braced himself for whatever would come next. The confrontation was far from over, it was about to get much more intense. Jack felt the weight of the challenge hanging in the air. Silent eyes shifted between him and Tom, uncertainty simmering. Each breath became a battle, but he wouldn't let fear define them. This room, this group, was their refuge. Gather your thoughts, Tom challenged, glancing around for sympathy. When you finally see this world for what it really is, you might not feel so brave. His words stung, but Jack was determined not to show it. You're wrong, Tom, he shot back. What we've built here is real. It's not about denying the hurt, it's about embracing the healing. We are stronger together. Tom's smirk faded slightly, replaced by a flicker of something doubt. Anger? It was hard to tell, but Jack held his ground. The murmurs of agreement rising from the other veterans told him they were backing him, too. Is that so? Tom replied, stepping closer. Fancy words mean nothing against the brutal truth. He glanced around the room, seeking to provoke. Are you all just going to sit there like sheep? How long until the world crushes your little hopes? One veteran named Linda, fiercely passionate and full of grit, stood up. And how long will you keep hiding in your own darkness, Tom? Her voice rang out, potent with indignation. You want to talk about reality? This is reality. We are fighting, and we will not back down. Her fire ignited something in the room, and applause erupted. Jack felt that spark burst into flames. They weren't just sitting there, they were declaring a stand. Look around, Tom, Jack said, gesturing expansively. These people are fighting battles that would break others. Their stories make them resilient, not weak, here in this space. Hope doesn't stop us from seeing the truth, it pushes us forward. Tom's expression shifted. Jack could see he was rattled, but instead of retreating, he leaned in closer, almost as if daring them to break. You want to share stories? Great. But stories never pay the bills. Stories don't bring back the dead. They only prove how futile you all are. Jack's heart raced. Was Tom really trying to tear them down at a moment like this? But then he caught a glimpse of Sarah's face, the strength she had shown, and it sparked something in him. We don't seek to pay our debts to the past, Jack said, steadying his voice. We acknowledge them, but we also choose to move on. This isn't just about mourning what we've lost, it's about celebrating what we can become. Another veteran, an older man named Albert, stood up, his voice gravelly yet strong. You think we're foolish? We're building something that's greater than ourselves here. You may see us as weak, but we're stronger than you know. Jack saw Tom's bravado begin to crumble, the shadows of doubt creeping in. He pressed on, urgency building. Instead of casting doubt, why don't you tell us your story, Tom? What burdens do you carry? The room quieted, all eyes darting to Tom, who seemed taken aback. For a moment, he stood there, like a deer caught in headlights. This was not the confrontation he expected. Jack's heart hammered in his chest. Would Tom reveal his own pain, or would he try to deflect? Either way, the tension hung thick. Maybe it's time everyone knows what you're really afraid of, Jack said softly, the conviction in his voice echoing through the room, the moment stretched like a taut wire, ready to snap. Jack held his breath, believing this could either tear them apart or bind them tighter. What would Tom do next? In that critical silence, it was clear, the stakes were rising. The air buzzed with expectancy, and a reckoning was coming. Tom hesitated, the brief flicker of vulnerability crossing his face almost imperceptibly. Jack saw the internal struggle reflected back. Maybe there was more to Tom than the relentless cynicism he wielded as armor. But instead of finding a way to deflect the question, Tom's gaze locked onto Jack. "I don't have to tell you anything," Tom spat, shaking off the moment. "You've made a mockery of vulnerability here. It's a weakness, a shameful thing." There was a sharper edge to his voice, and Jack could sense the conflict simmering just beneath the surface. "Oh, but it's not a weakness," Jack interjected, determination igniting his words. "It's part of being human. We all have scars. Fear only binds us if we let it. You can fight against this, or you can open up. Choose." Tom scoffed, a forced laugh escaping his lips, yet he seemed momentarily caught off guard by Jack's challenge. Silence enveloped the room again. The previously supportive atmosphere was now charged with tension. The veterans shifted in their seats, embodying a collective breath, as they anticipated Tom's reaction. Suddenly, one of the older veterans, a gentleman with deep lines etched onto his face, stood. "You think we're weak for feeling? I've lost brothers in arms, men whose lives shaped my own. Their memories are a part of me, just as your failures are a part of you, Tom. Turning your back on that doesn't make you stronger, it just distances you further from acceptance." The room echoed with murmurs of agreement as the crowd rallied behind Jack. Tom looked around, his bravado faltering under the weight of their unified stares. Finally, he sneered, "You're all just clinging to some fairy tale of hope. It'll slip through your fingers." But the defiance in his voice lacked conviction. Jack noticed the mask he wore beginning to crack. "Maybe this is your chance to choose something different," Jack said, his voice steady and calm. "You can either continue shutting people out, or you can be part of something real. We all deserve a chance to start fresh, to share our burdens." Tom glanced around the room again, the rising tide of camaraderie behind him, filling the air with hope and understanding. "You think that's easy? You think it's fun carrying your burdens?" His facade quivered, and Jack seized the opportunity. "It's not easy," Jack replied, stepping closer, "but it's a path towards healing. Listen, you're battling something too. We all are. We can stand on opposite sides, or we can stand together. I know you feel the same fear and regret. Let us face it together." The silence that followed felt monumental, like a tightrope stretched between them. The community was holding its breath, caught in the moment of truth. Deep down, Jack wished to reach Tom, to draw out the sorrow and pain that lay beneath the gruff exterior. "Speak," Jack urged softly. "Tell us your story. Let this be our moment of vulnerability. Let us share our truths." Time felt suspended, and Jack held on to a skewed sense of hope. Perhaps they were at a crossroad, an opportunity for Tom to choose connection over isolation. But Tom's shoulders tensed again, shaking his head, unable to shed the shame he'd been carrying. "I'm not broken like the rest of you. I'm not afraid." The room responded with a soft murmur, disbelief mixed with sympathy and understanding. Jack felt sorrow for him wash over them like a tide. "Tom, no one here thinks that. We're all just trying to heal and move forward. Please, let go of the past holding you back. Let us support you." Tom's gaze hardened, but Jack could see the flicker of doubt hiding beneath his steely exterior. "Why would you care? You don't even know me." "Exactly," Jack exclaimed, heart racing with determination. "We're all walking this road of loss and anger, yet we stand here willing to extend an olive branch. Listen to each other instead of pushing away. You deserve that too. Why should I trust a billionaire?" Tom shot back bitterly. "A man who only thinks about himself." Jack's heart sank momentarily but steadied himself. "Because I'm here to show that I care. This community deserves to celebrate its memories, not hide from them. If you can't see past the money, then we can't go forward." In that agonizing moment, Tom's mask crumbled even further, revealing the man beneath the bravado, a man weary from years of fighting alone. "Maybe you're right," he conceded softly, vulnerability cracking through. "But I don't know how to open up." "None of us do," Jack assured him, voice steady and full of warmth. "But if you want a shot, we're ready to embrace you. Yes, it's scary. But together, we can face it." For the first time, Jack saw a flicker of something in Tom's eyes. Pain. Regret. Hope. The veterans surrounded him with steady encouragement, their warmth enveloping like a blanket of unity as they all took a collective breath. "I may not be ready," Tom murmured, voice cracking, "but maybe I will be. Together." The weight in the room shifted, a collective sigh echoing through the gathering. Jack felt the glow of hope swelling across the room. It was a fragile beginning, but a beginning nonetheless. "Together," Jack echoed, his heart lighter than it had felt in years, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. They stood facing the dawn, the light breaking through the darkness that had haunted them for years. A community stood ready to fight for each other, a community forged from scars, love, and connectivity. In that moment, Jack realized they could finally rewrite their story. "Let us make that community center a reality." The veterans erupted in cheers, affirming that hope had taken a firm root, and together, they would face whatever challenges came next. Now was the time for growth, love, and healing as dreams and action converged into a brighter, shared future. It was the dawn of a new chapter, a chapter they, as a family, would write together. Now it's time for you to embrace this journey with us. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our community. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now, it's crucial. This is the moment to show your support, your love. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Be part of this amazing community.